All right, we're live. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Um, let's get right to it. We've got a major celestial event. I went all day. It was the 7th. My bad. It's tomorrow. Today is the 6th. I got a little ahead of myself, but that's okay. Um, so I did do a TikTok video earlier, so um, just know I got the dates wrong. But let's get right into it because we've got really quite a lot to cover here. But Uranus enters Gemini, and this is going to take place tomorrow. Now, Uranus is the planet that rules the future, and this is, I'm going to try and word this the best I can here. Uranus is the planet that rules the future that mankind has not realized yet due to many humans possessing an ingenious spirit, meaning a lot of mankind in general doesn't realize their true potential and the creation and inventions that they're capable of doing. We're going to see a lot of that in the next 7 years. So, Uranus is inquisitive, it's extremely intellectual, and it rules the genius qualities of man and inventions. This planet usually spends about 7 years in each sign, but we may not see these changes right away, more like the halfway mark of this period. However, it's much it's a much faster process when it's in Gemini, and I'll explain this in a little more detail coming up. But Uranus is the planet of sudden release of energy, and it rules explosions, it rules nuclear energy, it's uranium, aeronautics, space, the UFO phenomena. It's shocking news, it's bizarre, it's revolutionary times, it's innovation, science, discovery, it's new age matters, it's astrology, it's the cosmos, and it also represents sudden changes. Now, it brings some of the most devastating forces within nature, such as tornadoes, earthquakes, typhoons, um, hurricanes. And when you think about countries, because countries are ruled by signs and planets, the country of Japan is very much ruled by Uranus, as it has the most seismic activity with earthquakes and volcanoes per square mile than any other country on the planet. So these next 7 years, Japan's probably going to get hit real hard. I think they just had a eruption a day or two ago. I could be wrong on that. Thought I heard something like that. Now, Uranus has been in Taurus since May 15th, 2018, and technically it shifts permanently into Gemini on April 2026 into Gem. But before it takes a brief bounce back, it's going to bounce right on back into Taurus from November 7th, 2025 to April 26th, 2026. So take stock of the things that are happening these next five months or so, 6 months or so, um, because it's really a precursor to when this planet does turn permanent, station completely permanent for 7 years in April of 2026. A lot of the things we're noticing in these next 5 months, 6 months are going to be prevalent. So just something to be aware of. Uh, Now, its transit through Taurus, a sign associated with wealth, stability, material possessions, financial or finances. It represents agriculture, values, and Mother Earth energy. It tends to bring about like disruptive, shocking, explosive, and transformative shifts in all these areas. And few examples of this can be, I didn't put them in the newsletter, but um, we had a couple of banks fold. One was in Silicon Valley, and I don't remember the names of them. There were two of them. When it comes to food and agriculture, this is all about, the bird flu and shortage of eggs and a price increase in eggs and things like that. So we've seen a lot of things taking place these past 7 years with Uranus in Taurus. Um, and like I said, it brings about a lot of disruptive and shocking news, explosive, transformative shifts in these areas. So, and Uranus really did not enjoy or doesn't enjoy being in slow moving, traditional, and cautious Taurus. Remember, Taurus is fixed, so it's stubborn. It digs its heels in and it doesn't budge. That's why you're seeing all this stuff going on with crypto, and they're getting ready to make a big announcement on the 14th, which doesn't surprise me. It's a major deal, and it's all taking place under the umbrella of Uranus in Taurus. Um, there have been many occasions where there has been a fear of change, fear of progressing forward, and issues with currency matters too. This placement can bring about financial chaos, upheavals, the value of money. Let's use cryptocurrency and digital assets as the example, because this coincides with the rise, the usage, and the mainstreaming of cryptocurrencies and other digital assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that. This created challenging issues for the traditional financial systems and their value. Remember, Gary Gensler, SEC, was not letting was not letting crypto flourish like it should. Okay, then Trump came in and got a crypto czar and all this, and then crypto is going to start flowing a little bit better for the United States. I guess that's a bittersweet thing. I don't know. This has also brought about economic instability and inflation, financial crisis. We've had the stock market crash and fall and rise and crash, rapid changes to interest rates, banking collapses like I just mentioned, and or disruptions within the banking industry in general. Now, this transit has brought many discussions around the central bank and the digital currencies too. Um, there has been fighting, there's been wars and violence over land, Ukraine, Gaza, and natural resources. The universe is really trying to tell everyone that that to reevaluate what wealth really means and redirect our focus from materialistic possessions to being more thankful for what we have. And that's kind of where the Pluto in Aquarius comes in. Pluto in Capricorn was all corporate, all business, unfeeling. Now it's in radical Aquarius. It's humanitarian issues, community, brotherly love. So there's a big shift coming. Now, Uranus in Taurus has also brought issues with food production, just distribution, food supplies, agriculture, GMOs, sustainable farming, environmental concerns, climate change, ecological damages, and a more progressive way of tending to our Mother Earth to a certain degree. Viewpoints become more futuristic now, and a shift to dismantle, the old systems, their structures and values and beliefs are being torn down as they no longer serve the collective. So you've got, I don't really like bringing politics into this, but Uranus in Taurus would probably be a more conservative, as to our Uranus in Gemini is going to be a more progressive. So there's going to be a lot of upheavals, a lot of people fighting the system, so to speak. So there's that. It's going to be a bumpy ride. We'll see our ups and we'll see our downs. That's for sure. All right, let's move on. Let me get something to drink here. I just made myself a fresh batch of lavender blueberry iced tea. Yum. It's one good thing about summertime. You can make all kinds of delicious iced teas. Now, throughout history, Uranus and Taurus has taken on many historical attributes from 1850 to 1859. This period in history was the rise of the California gold rush, leading to destructive hydraulic mining. And in the history books, you hear about the rise of many indigenous tribes that were rebelling against this and destroying their land and the colonial powers that be. Now, this brought about the American Civil War, being fought, a conflict rooted in economic and property rights like slavery. So from 1934 to 1942, this coincided with the Great Depression and the beginning of World War II, bringing about dramatic economic upheavals. This is where the government experimentation, like the Banking Act of 1935 and the Social Security Act, were birthed from. And a revolution in agricultural practices started. So think the Dust Bowl, part of our American history. It also saw women entering the workforce in large numbers too, and this was partially due to a lot of men going off to war. So they needed these women to do some of those jobs, like mechanic and things like that. There were a lot of women mechanics in the 40s when the boys were off at war. So, in essence, Uranus in Taurus has consistently brought about periods of disruption to establish norms and structures related to money, related to resources and fundamental values, often forcing people and society to reevaluate, let me rephrase that, forcing a reevaluation of what is truly stable and valuable in life. It's been a time of shaking the ground beneath our feet to build new, more authentic foundations for the future. Gemini and Uranus is the future. Okay. And that brings me to Gemini and Uranus. This is a whole new ballgame. This transit is poised to bring about profound and revolutionary changes, particularly in the areas associated with Gemini. So what does Gemini rule? Well, communication, transportation, writing, publishing, information, technology, broadcasting, media, education, short distance travel. And this is also about the mind or the mental clarity. In a lot of ways, Uranus is like the great awakener. It awakens you. Historically, let's take a look at what Uranus and Gemini has brought through the centuries. Now, the US was invented under a Uranus in Gemini transit from 1775 to 1783. And the Revolutionary War began and the birth of a nation was marked by radical colonial rule with the establishment of a new, more, independent government. These revolutions brought about new ideas, communication from speeches, people handing out pamphlets, and people, stepping up to the podium saying, I have the Declaration. And a new government based on new principles was founded. Now, the Civil War from 1861 to 1865 brought about major internal strife. It reshaped a nation, created vision and conflict driven by a deeply divided nation. Sounds very familiar. This was also when the first transatlantic telegraph cable was invented. And this was revolutionizing transcontinental communication. So you will see in these next 7 years a major shift in how we communicate, how we use our social media platforms, how media is done. Lots of changes are going to take place. Now, the last time Uranus was in Gemini was from August 1941 to September 1948, and World War II began, and this happened between 1939 and 1945. Now, this era saw the U.S. emerge as a global superpower with significant technological that's a tongue twister, with significant technological advancements and shifts in like international relations. The era saw the rise of mass media, radio and television became more widespread. This is very true. Modern computing and advanced ways of TV and broadcasting were there. And like I said, I talked to my mom about this when I was typing this newsletter up several months ago. And I asked her, and she said, well, only the very rich could afford televisions when they first came out. We all did radio. And then she said it wasn't until like the early 50s, she said, that they got a TV, like 1950, 1951, 52, something like that, that they got a TV. But so there's all these new advancements for that era. Now, this era also brought about, things like warfare and advancements and intense ideological and communication battles. This period also encompassed the beginning of the early Cold War, too. If you were born during this time, you're from the generation of people interested in new ways of thinking. You were a young adult probably during the 60s, a time of great social upheaval. It's about free love, anti-war protests, civil rights were a big part of your lived experience. So that this next transit, you might be feeling like you're going to do it again. It's a redo. You're reliving it. And sometimes history does repeat itself. You are the boomer generation. So souls born with a Gemini in Uranus will be entering their Uranus return. So many people in that boomer generation are going to experience their Uranus return. This is a cosmic event which only happens once in a lifetime, every 84 to 85 years. And this marks a period where you are free to be yourself. You will not conform to what society expects from you. And I'm trying to find the right way to say this. This is the one generation where, how do I put this? Like I just said, you're not going to conform to society. So this generation is a little out of touch with political correctness. Let me put it that way. I don't know how else to put that, really. You don't care if you fit in because it's time. You don't care if you fit in because now it's time to let your authentic self shine through. This placement will affect most souls in their 70s or 80s as they contemplate whether they are independent enough to live alone or do they need assisted living care. This is a time to assess your health, your cognitive abilities, and what makes the most sense and works for you. So before I go on, the United States is on a Uranus return. The President of the United States is on a Uranus return. Buckle up, kids. Now, the USA will be on their own Uranus return once it moves into Gemini. And what does this all mean? Well, first of all, there are 85 different ways to run an astrology chart. You will have modern astrologers state that this falls in the USA's 6th house of health, service to the world. And then you'll have ancient astrologers like myself who tell you that the planet falls in the US's 12th house of hidden enemies and the deep subconscious. Now, this means the US could experience changes in work life, jobs, how we take care of our bodies, our hygiene, and how we care for ourselves. Technology is going to play a very, very big part in all of this. Revolutions will shift the dynamics with the workforce. This is the workplace. This is labor unions. And this is also new industries that can emerge. You're going to see that 9 to 5 work week schedule a thing of the past as people will seek out a stronger desire for freedom from the confines of an office. I know this may not seem like a reality yet, but bear with me and have patience. Power to the people, right? Power will be placed in the hands of the people. It's going to take some time. Now, in conclusion, a Uranus return for the USA will bring a period of intense, unpredictable, and challenging changes. The nation will have to readapt and redefine itself. It's a time when old systems may crumble, to make way for new structures, and the new collective consciousness could be significantly altered. There's going to be a shift in how we see things. And it will be that boomer generation that feels completely lost and disconnected. And I'm not bagging on that generation any sense of the way. Um, my Some of my very own aunties and uncles that are from that generation have fought very hard. Some are no longer here and probably would be shocked to see what's happening today. I foresee the US having a deeper understanding of high tech technologies. And since it's moving through the 12th house in the Nostradamus method, many Americans subconscious will be working overtime. Remember, this Gemini rules mental clarity, thought process. And then when it's in Uranus, it's sudden, it's fast, it's lightning quick. So um, many will be broadening their horizons with deeper spirituality, new age subjects and matters, new age perspectives, a deep insight into the future. Now, unfortunately, Uranus in Gemini can be all about war. Let's take a look at how Uranus has shaped the US as a nation through the centuries. And I've discussed this earlier, but the last 3 times Uranus was in Gemini coincided with war, including the Civil War, World War II. And this does not mean we might not experience something like that again. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Have you seen the news? It's not looking good. Unfortunately, war is money for these corporations. They make big bucks while our sons and daughters die. We are experiencing everything right now from disinformation campaigns via social media or technological warfare, cyber crimes, cyber attacks. Uranus is the rebel planet. So the collective might be ready for revolution. It is a revolution planet. And this could come through unions, class consciousness, and culture change. Remember, Gemini is groups, people forming alliances, forming groups. The status quo might fall out of favor and get the kick to the curb. Considering that Pluto, the planet of transformation, is in Aquarius, a new inclusive world may be made possible. This will not come, though, without conflicts, as we all must be ready to push back and fight for our ideals and humanity. It's not about ourselves anymore. It's about each other, our fellow man. There are certain generations that it's all about them. Things are changing. Hey, Leslie, how are you, hon? No more soap and water. Who knows? We'll see. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Now, my Patreons are getting what to expect. I have here is what I expect Uranus to bring the world in the next 7 years, and I do have about 18 of them. I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 of them because number 17 is really it's here. Potential for external conflicts and large-scale wars, both international and domestic. That also means wars above our heads, wars in the skies. No, I know I sound nuts, but as above, so below. There is a galactic war going on in our heavens. That's why you're seeing fireballs coming out of the sky. That's it, because it mirrors as above, so below. It's a mirror of what's going on above. I don't know who's fighting with who, but it's there. All right. I'm kind of gave you this one already. Number 15, Japan makes headlines in a major way. You're going to see a lot of changes for Japan these next 7 years. Technology evolves at a rapid pace. That's another thing we're going to see. And the last one I am going to give you, let's see. Okay, here's a good one. Number 4, media and journalism get a complete overhaul, especially with less and less watching mainstream media, which is very true. A new wave of independent journalism, highly personalized news feeds, or even a return to more localized, community-based information sharing is something we're going to see in these next couple of years here. You're going to see the average day person go, you know what? Screw you, ABC. Screw you, Fox News. They're going to come together and do their own research and do a more localized, community-based information sharing database. Those are some of the things we are going to see in the next 7 years. And, to sum things up here, Uranus in Gemini will usher in a dynamic and potentially chaotic period of intelligence and technological revolution. We can't expect our world to be completely reshaped by advancements in communication, in information, and even in the very way we think and we learn. It's going to completely change. It will be a time of great agility. You're going to have to be adaptable. Adaptability is going to have to be key. And even the ability to process and disseminate information effectively is going to be paramount. Um, those of you who choose to keep your head buried in the sand and choose not to see the truth, you will be left behind. I don't know left behind from what, but there you have it. Uranus in Gemini will begin on July 7th. Yeah, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Um, so yeah, this transition, I thought it happened today. I'm a day behind. It is the 6th today, not the 7th. So um, it's one of those things. So it is. You will probably see it quicker than you did the transition in 2018 from Uranus into Taurus. You'll probably see it quicker because of, air signs are usually faster energy than earth signs, especially Taurus. But you also got to remember that Taurus was a fixed sign, and fixed signs, things don't ebb and flow quite as well. Now, uh, Gemini is actually a mutable sign. So it will be, and I didn't put this in the newsletter, it will be all my Geminis, especially that feel this, because it's going to be sitting right on your first house of self, soul's purpose. Okay. And it could make you a little scattered. It could make you a little absent-minded, forgetful. This is why I worry about our president of the United States. He's got Uranus in the first house. He's got um, what did I say he was coming up on? Uranus return. Okay, he's got Uranus in the first house. Now, Jupiter has left Gemini and moved into his second house, so he no longer has the protection of Jupiter on his first house of self. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it is a possibility. There's a fatwa on him. Okay. And God, what was that guy's name? I wrote him down. There's a fatwa on him. Now, Trump is pushing 80. There ain't too many years left. And I'm foreseeing as I look. Are you a Gemini? I think you are. We had this conversation the last time. Um, please, okay. So please remember there is a positive and a negative with Uranus. So Uranus in the negative. It's a shocking release of energy. It's sudden news. It's explosions, eruptions, and on a that's on a worldly level. Now on a personal level, it can go either way. There could be very good news and there could be very bad news. However, not all Geminis are on a Uranus return like Mr. President is. Okay. And when you're on a Uranus return, it is kind of telling you to hang the gloves up, enjoy retirement. And as I went and looked deeper into his stars, okay, this is just him, not all Geminis, just Donald Trump. The next dragon that comes is Uranus in Gemini, or are you the next generation? Because that would mean, let's see, Uranus in Gemini. I'm trying to think. Mathematics is not my stronghold. Anyway, okay. So for some people, I'm going to use my mother as the absolute perfect example here. Because when I was writing this up several months ago, she says to me, because she went and looked at her chart, she goes, holy cow, I'm on my Uranus return too. So she was on hers when Jupiter first, or when Uranus first went into Taurus. So she's not even the boomer generation. She is the generation right before the boomer. She's like right there on the cusp and the cutoff. I think they called it like the wasted baby generation. That's a horrible name for that generation. I don't know why they call it that. One of these days I'll do something on Pluto and the generations. But so she says to me, well, hell, I'm as old as time if I'm living through my Uranus return and some, So what I'm trying to say is just because you're on your Uranus return, our president likes to eat a lot of fast food and junk. That's going to give him an early grave. Okay. You can't be 79 years old and eat like that and think you're going to be healthy. Something's going on with his health. Okay, now remember, no two Geminis are alike. So when I went in and looked at his stars, I know that the next dragon that takes place, the dragon tail sits in his third house, and that is the house of mental clarity and cognitiveness. So this doesn't mean for all Geminis. Some of my Geminis will feel a little depressed, a little sad maybe during that time. That doesn't take place until the next dragon shift, which is next year, which is like July 27th, 2026. So, but a Uranus return, which I actually don't think, Leslie, you're on quite yet. Okay. My Uranus is in Libra. So Uranus in Libra, Uranus in Virgo. Yeah, I don't think you're on yours yet. You're too young. You're too young. Yeah, I've done enough astrology on people in your age group to realize I could be wrong because no two Geminis are alike, but Uranus is a generational thing, sort of. Pluto is the generational planet, but Uranus usually holds a certain generation as well. So don't fret, don't worry. And when you think negative, negative happens. And I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a January born Capricorn. I get to have Uranus on my 6th house. This is the house of health. So my health could go up, it could go down. We're trying to think positive here and, eat right, exercise, do all those right things to prepare me for this next energy that's coming. But this is also in my work life as well. Um, Remember, Uranus is the great awakener. So we're going to have epiphanies. We're going to have awakenings. This rules the new age world. Okay. Um, it's more, I would embrace it more than fear it, even though I know facts and statistics show that wars break out with this energy, as I've showed you by historical example. Um, but we're all going to have to band together. And I'm noticing a shift. It's subtle, but I'm noticing a shift. I'm going to use news media as an example. Okay. You've got people like the news organization, the Young Turks, very progressive, very liberal, if you want to call it that. Then you have organizations like Charlie Kirk, what's his name? Tucker Carlson. Okay. So now you've got the far right, you've got the far left agreeing on something. That's not supposed to happen, but that will happen in a Uranus and Gemini when sides come together. So when I go on TikTok and I just scroll on by, but when I see people saying things that are very inhumane about other people, um, I kind of pity you, because not you in this chat or you be watching me, but I kind of pity some of you because you really haven't achieved cosmic consciousness and you really can't see the greater picture here of what's happening. In order for us to win, we have to come together. And some of you on here, just you dig the knife in and you divide more and more instead of unite. You're a victim to your own problems in a lot of ways. Um, just some of you vibrate on a very low level of frequency. Not all of you, and I have a lot to learn too. I want to vibrate much higher myself. Every day is a learning opportunity. Every day is a gift. And we've just got to march along and help each other realize that it's not all about money. Money. There's more to life than money. And we're going to see that as time goes on. It's going to be about community, people banding together for the greater good. Well, one can hope. You never know. But that is your Uranus in Gemini forecast, Leslie. Hang in there. It's going to all be fine. Everything's going to work out. Just keep an eye on things. Watch the news. You'll see what I mean as the months, weeks, and years go by and we get into this intensity. The one thing I'll leave you with is this: you're very welcome, hon. Volcanoes will get very active these next 7 years. Uranus rules earthquakes, uh, bad weather, electricity, things like that. So just expect it. It's going to happen. A lot of intensities are coming from the weather patterns. So um, there's that. But anyway, you guys all have a blessed Sunday. Good to see you, Leslie. Talk soon. And all of you out there, have a great week ahead. I will be back on here probably Wednesday with your full moon in politically charged Capricorn. Ciao, you guys. Talk soon. Bye-bye.